Hello, hello, hello. Today I'm going with the eerie winter fisherman look, because that's how things are going to roll today. So, yeah, here we are. Here we are in it. As of the time that I'm recording this, it's the very end of January. And that means a few things. That means that I've been doing these Temple of Grief episodes every week since the election day, so since early November. And also, coincidentally, I knew back in October that I was heading into what was going to be a kind of cocoon period. And boy, was it a different kind of cocoon than I ever imagined it would be. And part of that was I was a bit irked, actually. I was a bit annoyed. I had this grand idea of how I was going to be, having this spiritual renewal, and it was going to be very peaceful, and it was going to be very zen. That is not how Spirit decided it wanted to play the game with me this time, which seems, it seems like there's a pattern here. And that's fine. Because I do like an adventure. So, as it turns out, this whole grieving process for me, and, so here we are, 3 months into our grieving process, we, the people of the so-called United States of America, we have been grieving the diagnosis for 3 months, right? And now we are in it. And so now, there's a lot of things happening. So we've been doing this for 3 months. Part of the cocoon thrust me into basically job search mode, which is not my idea of spiritual renewal in any stretch of the words. But I decided to treat it like that. I decided to treat my job search as an opportunity to ask Spirit, what do you want me to do for my community? What do you want me to do for the world right now? How does my community need me to show up? And so when I approached it that way, and when I got over myself and got over my ego and got over what I thought was the way things were supposed to be and the way I had planned things to be, you know how it is. If you plan something, don't plan too hard, because the universe is going to come along to show you that you can't plan so hard. You have to allow some things to just happen. So I said, okay, how can I be of service to my community? And I went on the job market. And it was very interesting to be on the job market right now at this point in time in our world. And this is all sort of leading me to this whole question of diversity. Diversity, equity, and inclusion, DEI, whatever you want to call it, whatever your, monikers are, which is under attack. It's under attack. It's under attack. It's been under, they've said they were going to attack it. They're attacking it. I have friends in academia who are talking about how they're getting the memos about how, X, Y, and Z budgets and projects are being slashed, and that no longer is any work towards diversity, equity, and inclusion permitted, right? They're trying to ban it, which is, every time I read about it, it just makes me laugh because it's so preposterous and it's so ludicrous. And the thing that really gets me behind all of this is that if you really have to rely on the law to tell you that diversity is a good idea, we've got way bigger problems. We have way, way bigger problems. Because here's the thing. Diversity is a value. Diversity is a value that, guess what? It's valuable. It's valuable to have diverse perspectives. It is valuable to not live in a silo with everybody who thinks the same as you. It is valuable to cultivate relationships with people who are different from us. So, those who are afraid of diversity initiatives are really, truly afraid of their own wholeness, because we cannot be whole until we learn to embrace and accept the other as if we are embracing and accepting ourselves. That's the way it is. So, one example, as I said, I was on the job market. I have like 5 jobs now. So that's the thing, that I asked Spirit, how can I be of service? And all of a sudden, so many opportunities are opening up for me. And I'm going to get to one of them in a moment. But it's been beautiful to be humbled by trying to run my own business, and then to just see how can I be of service, and to have these really beautiful opportunities come to me. And one of the, I'm actually not going to say the name of the company, because I don't really want to get into you and pointing finger-ism. But one of the companies that, I didn't have an interview. I just had like an informational interview. It wasn't quite interview process. They were doing recruiting, and I was interested. I was curious. I'm not actively seeking a full-time job. I'm kind of not passively, but I'm considering all my options. So this one particular company was really, as part of this whole informational process, they were really bragging on how they appreciate and value diversity as an important as something that is a value, that's something they want their workplace to reflect, the diversity of who they're serving. It's a basic premise, a basic precept that you'll find in anybody who's actually doing social justice work. You'll find it anywhere that people want to actually be doing meaningful work in the community. And so it's like common. It's so common. It's like, yes, of course, we want our communities to be reflected in our businesses and our institutions. That's the premise of diversity initiatives. The premise is that we need to reflect the society that we're around. Well, and of course, the people that are afraid of that are like, oh no, white people are never going to be respected anymore because of, I don't know what. It's such a silly thing to be afraid of. Stop getting your panties in a twist about it and recognize. And I'm going to actually quote one of my mentors, Joseph Dillard, who is currently in Germany, but I met him when he was teaching at the Southwest Institute of Healing Arts in Arizona, and he works with dreams. And he has a system that he works with that he calls integral deep listening. And it is a strategy and a set of skills for dialoguing with your dreams. And the way his sort of overriding premise, his overriding philosophy about how to dialogue with your dreams is that these are all emergent aspects of ourselves. So any dream character, any dream object is representing some aspect of us somehow, somewhere. And the more we can listen to all of those dream characters, to all of those dream objects, to all of those perspectives, we start to cultivate the habits of being able to be literally more open-minded, right? When we are able to consider all these diverse perspectives. Joseph calls it multi-perspectivalism. Joe, I know you laugh that everybody laughs at what a big word that is. And it is quite a big word. And it's like 8 syllables. You can't even put it in one line of a haiku. Multi-perspectivalism. But what that is the value of diverse perspectives in our life, in our negotiations, in the way we do things, in the way we think about things. So this company that I was being recruited for was bragging on their diversity, that they actively seek out to have a diverse representation in their staff. And I was like, great, awesome, cool, yeah, do-do-do, groovy, groovy. And it happened to be a company that was related to insurance. And P.S., I'm not that interested in selling insurance, but it was related to the insurance industry. And I said, oh, okay. So does your company offer benefits to domestic partners? And she said no, because Pennsylvania stopped requiring that by law in 2000, whatever. And I was like, okay, so you're a company that professes to embrace diversity, and yet you cannot even offer the basic product of a fair insurance policy. And this is not even necessarily for same-sex partners. This is just for two people cohabitating who have decided not to marry for whatever reason, whether they're queer or not. And I just sort of politely nodded and said, okay, well, that is not true diversity of representation. And, this is all on the heels of, I didn't watch very much of it, but the clip I saw was basically him declaring loudly that there are only two genders, male and female. And so, there are a good number of people in my world who have basically just been declared non-existent. And that can't feel very good. That cannot feel very good. So I feel for you, my friends, my people, non-binary and transgender folks. I know that this is probably feeling like the end times. Now, here's the thing. There's going to be a shit show, and we're going to get through it, okay? We're going to take care of our people. We're going to take care of our communities. So I just wanted to kind of share all of that, because the way I believe so profoundly is that this is the time for us to be vocal everywhere we go about what we value and why. And so, for example, I'm not going to work for a company that does not value true diversity. And I'm not going to work for a company or a government, right, that does not acknowledge the spectrum of gender. Like, to just deny, anyway, let's not, it's going to get me really frustrated if I go into that too much. So I want to acknowledge that we are grieving what had been an embracing of diversity. And we are grieving that no longer is the norm or the de facto, and that it is under threat. We, the people of the so-called United States of America. Now, here's where things are going to start to get interesting. In all of my job searchings and soul searchings and asking the universe how I can be of service, it turns out I got approved to be, they're calling it a partner. I'm still not exactly sure what that means, but with the Gaia media platform. And Gaia is the only thing I pay for. Now, does my partner pay for other things? Yes. And do I watch those other things that he pays for? Well, I'm not going to close my eyes and go in the other room. He can choose what he wants to pay for, and I can choose what I want to pay for. But Gaia is the only thing I pay for. It's the only thing I can, in good conscience, support with my dollars and trust that I am supporting media that is raising the collective consciousness. Because, my friends, ladies and gentlemen, and those who do not fit the gender binary, all of us would be very well served to expand our consciousness as quickly as possible. So, all that to say, I'm kind of sort of using this platform as a means of kind of announcing. I'm not really, I'm not into the big launch. It doesn't work for me. I'm just going to say what I'm doing because you're here. So from now on, we're going to move into a monthly grieving. So the Temple of Grief is no longer going to be weekly. The Temple of Grief is going to be a once a month. And so this is the grief expression for the collapse of the country formerly known as the United States of America. And then what I'm going to begin doing, which I'm actually so very excited about, because I am now an official partner with Gaia, I'm going to start doing some podcast episodes about their content that I really love, content that I want to talk about, content that I want to share about, content that I want us to have dialogues, or what I'm going to be calling them is Gaialogues. Yes, I know, I have to be too clever and too cutesy sometimes, but they're going to be the Gaialogues. And so I'm going to start actually putting material on my YouTube channel that is about some of the things that I'm most interested in or that have taught me something very profound or moved me very deeply. I happen to know right now that they're really promoting Lynn McTaggart's events and Joe Dispenza's programs. And so if either of those two people interest you, and if you don't know who they are, I'm going to start talking about them next week. Because I'm going to start putting out more regular content that engages with the content of Kaya, because this is the time for us to raise our consciousness, and Gaia is a beautiful platform to help us do that. So here we are, February 2025, in the Temple of Grief, grieving the losses to diversity as a value in our social collective. And what do we do when something passes, when someone passes, and we want to hold them in our hearts? We cling to those values. We hold to those values. We plant the seeds of those values into our future generations, and we do what we can to make sure that those values are not forgotten. That is all for this month's Temple of Grief. Wishing you peace on your journey. Cheers.